I made a mistake by saying that this would be the next video. My original intention was for it to be my online schooling experience video, but you know what? I think I want to do that video on a much later stage. We move. Please Don't Bully Me Nagatoro is a manga written and illustrated by Nanashi about a scrawny-looking art geek who is relentlessly accused of being a pervert by a short tanned girl. However, she immediately makes these claims null because she wants him to do the perverted things so that she has leverage to tease him. I discovered this manga because I watched a Lost Pause Reddit video, and I also heard was getting an adaptation from Rev Says Desu when he was complaining that one of the waifus this year, I think it was a shy type one, didn't get her own adaptation this year. Straight after that, I read up to the latest chapter of the manga on a manga park in 2 days, and let me tell you, it was a beautiful experience. I hope nobody kills me for saying this. It is my second favorite manga, because I have only read 2 mangas, so that technically means it's the worst manga I've ever read. But you know what?
It is what it is. It is what it is.
The other one being JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean, which will feature in an upcoming video. It starts off with protagonist Kun wanting some alone time in his secret chilling spot in the school. But there were some chatty girls using said spot. They were a mild inconvenience, but he decided to just power through and do his homework. Then he accidentally dropped his school bag, which had some of the artwork he was drawing for his own original manga. The girls saw this and began reading his manga, and found it to be of pretty high quality. The girls then had to take care of some business, and they left protagonist Kun. All except for one girl. She had noticed that something was quite off with PK's manga. He had based the character on himself, which usually isn't a problem, but the way they acted was quite different. The manga character was filled to the brim with confidence and chivalry, and yet PK was the complete opposite, lacking none of those qualities. So, as a test of her senpai's legitimacy, she made PK, right? She made PK reenact one of the pages of his manga, and he completely choked. She then went on to tease him about how much of a chicken he was, and then he began crying. This man, who is a second year in high school, just let this girl, who is a first year, make him cry. And the funny part is, it happened twice. It happens twice, ladies and gentlemen. This was only the beginning of the long and tortuous journey of protagonist. Wow, I am messing up a lot right now, but you know what? I'll keep that in. This was the beginning of the long and tortuous journey of Protag-kun. One day, he was chillin' in the art room, and somehow this girl had just found him. She then somehow convinced him to let her be a model for one of his paintings. She was then doing some pretty suggestive things to try and catch out PK, but again, he powered through. The painting looked alright at first glance, but then she noticed that he got the legs wrong. So before he was even going to paint her, she said that she would give him a reward. And that reward was a flick on the nose. She then began to tease him about how he is just so embarrassed that he isn't even capable of drawing a girl's thighs. I mean, it ain't that deep. You really are trying that hard, aren't you, Nagatoro? Later on, he found out that the girl who is tormenting him at every waking moment is Nagatoro. That was when PK began to cry for the second time, and it was hilarious. For the sake of making the least amount of spoilers, I think I'll stop explaining the plot up to chapter 2, but you know what? The first 2 chapters are where you really get the gist of the story. From this point on, I will just mention stuff that I really enjoyed from the manga. In all honesty, I feel like people would read this purely because of the are you crying meme? I mean, that face. How would you describe it with words? That smirk could be used to create so many levels of toxicity. I know in my last video I said that I don't want to be the angry type of toxic, but I never said I wouldn't be toxic to people if they were toxic to me, right? I mean, let's say your opponent scored a dirty near post goal in the dying minutes of a FIFA game to equalize, and then they just start shushing you. You know what I would do now that I know this meme exists? I would try my absolute hardest to abuse kickoff, right? Score, and then send that picture to them on like a PlayStation chat to show them that they ain't hot stuff. So next time someone acts a little too big for their boots, well, too big for their boots way too soon, just put them in their place and share this image to them, okay? It will be absolutely phenomenal. What are the two most important aspects of a rom-com? Spice and wholesomeness. This manga delivers greatly in those two areas. This is clear with the absolute bizarre situations that Protag-kun gets himself into. Whenever PK is around Nagatoro and her friends, they tend to gang up on him. So when Nagatoro forgot her phone in the art club room, there was no other option but to take it to her, because obviously he had no way of contacting her. Of course, Nagatoro's friends would be an obstacle because, well, they're in two different age groups, right? So when PK got to the first year block, he found out what Nagatoro's class was, but then he noticed that her friends were approaching. He panicked and then hid in the cleaning locker in Nagatoro's class.
It's the hottest sauce in the world. This is hotter than ghost chili. I'm gonna do it. 3, 2, 1.
Then Nagatoro came in with one of her friends and then some other girls, and they began chatting about boys. A question that was asked was what kind of boys they were into. When it was Nagatoro's turn to answer, she said that she liked guys who were fun to be around, and Protag-kun heard this whilst he was in the locker. You see, I think I'm just a sucker for this. I mean, I just felt all kinds of levels of spiciness when I read this, okay? This got him flustered and he nearly blew his cover. Thankfully, Nagatoro was the one to find him, so he gave her back the phone, and then she covered for him. Then, outside the class, Nagatoro asked her senpai if he had heard what she said whilst she was in the locker. I almost said she there. I think it sounded like I said she. I meant he. He obviously, you see, I said he this time. He had to answer with no, right? So then, he had to answer with no because the man wouldn't get away with his life if he said yes. See? Spice. That is what we need from rom-coms. This should be the standard. You start off a little bit mild, then go to ghost pepper zones. There is a huge comparison that needs to be made now, or should I say huge contrast. So, when I was talking about Eromanga Sensei in one of my latest videos, I don't think I was able to talk about how certain aspects of the show affect its wholesomeness. I think I might have touched on it briefly, but not in this much detail. Please Don't Bully Me Nagatoro is somewhat of a feel-good story. It is easy to relate to because of the suspension of disbelief. It makes sense. Eromanga Sensei, however, disables me from suspending my disbelief entirely, and it is the same reason why I am able to enjoy Nagatoro. Eromanga Sensei essentially has this dude, Masamune, falling head over heels for his stepsister, which sounds fine at first, right? Because they're not related by blood. The dude loves his sister to bits. It hurts him to his core that his sister has not had a real interaction with the real world for so many years because she locked herself in her room due to depression. The dude even wrote a light novel series based on her, which on the surface looks like a light novel, but is instead his love letter to her. Now that sounds pretty wholesome at first. Masamune wants the best for his sister and clearly shows genuine care for her, but this wholesomeness is just dropped off a freaking cliff so hard because of one issue, just one. Without this issue, the series would at least be a decent romance anime. Masamune is in high school, and his sister is in middle school, as well as all the other romantic rivals. Is Megumi a romantic rival? I'm not sure about her. She's just, I don't like her, okay? Wait, there is that girl who is a rival, but she hasn't done jack squat in the anime. The fact that these girls, well, most of them are 12 years old and are competing for the love for a 15-year-old makes me kind of feel weird, you know? If you're an adult, dating someone slightly older or younger than you is not that uncommon. I mean, my dad is 5 years older than my mom, but it works differently. Why? Puberty. A 12-year-old's body is no way near the amount of development a 15-year-old body has, which makes this whole thing so uncomfortable to me, right? The only person I would kinda be okay with Masamune dating is that 14-year-old Muramasa, because, well, they're only separated by 1 year. Which is why I just had such an easy time enjoying the wholesomeness in Nagatoro. Nagatoro is 16 and protagonist-kun is only 17. Wait, I'm sorry for calling him protagonist-kun. At no point so far in the manga are we told his real name. Okay, let me continue. Sagiri is 12 and Masamune is 15, 16. I think he's a first year in high school. Which made the moment when she said she ain't giving up her brother to Elf and Muramasa just absolute cringe, dude. And not wholesome in the slightest. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure. Maybe there's an entire time skip in the manga. Wait, it's not a manga, it's a light novel. Yeah, that's it. Maybe there's a time skip in the light novel that solves this issue entirely, but for now, cringe. One thing I think we can all agree on is that wholesomeness has to take the cake over spice when we talk about ships in general. It is more important to see how much the lovers care for each other rather than seeing the boy falling on the girl's chest for the 100th time. Deku does not like Uraraka, yet. He just gets flustered around girls because of the social anxiety Kachan gave him after years of bullying. You know, now I see why people want Deku to get with his mom. Wholesomeness is the driving force which ultimately brings the lovers together in the first place. So, do I think that these two have reached the status of wholesome? Yeah. Beyond all the bullying that Nagatoro does, she genuinely wants to see her senpai, protagonist, can succeed. A lot of the time we see him doubting himself, but then Nagatoro will be there to tell him that he should just believe in himself, even if she has to tease him to do it. Really, it is only Nagatoro who sticks up for PK most of the time, and she is yet to learn something from him. I'm not sure what it is, but there is a lot of potential in what she could learn. Honestly, if Paisen doesn't teach her anything, then I might be a bit dissatisfied. I think these two would be a pretty cute couple together. One thing I would like to say on how I support ships is that I only support the ships that are intended to happen by the show. That is why I'm not hurt by the fact that Marinette chose Luca, because we all know that she's going to be running back to Adricans at the end of the day. If I supported ships that were unintended, I would just be disappointed at the end of the day, and let's just face it. So when I am supporting the intended ships in a show, it's more me being like, come on, just get together already! And not me being like, oh come on, she's way better. So with Nagatoro and protagonist-kun, I will just have to be patient. I mean, it kinda looks like the manga is ending soon, to me at least, for some reason. I don't know, but I feel like with the introduction of Nagatoro's sister, it could be like a few more chapters left. We also have to take into account that PK is going to graduate way before Nagatoro, so it would be absolutely hilarious if somehow she coincidentally enrolls at the same college as him, after he's been there for like a year, because, you know, she's 1 year younger than him. You know, that just kind of sounds like the plot for Uzaki-chan. I just had a fun time reading this manga, and it was a huge stress reliever, especially since I would be writing exams from my own home. No, I did not cheat, don't ask. It was pretty charming in a way, if you excuse the fan service. It's fun seeing how these two polar opposites clash with each other, and also see the many ways in which they are similar. Do I recommend it? If you're looking for a good chill sesh, then yeah, sure. If you enjoyed the video today, please hit the like and subscribe button. I am trying to get 100 subs by the end of the year, but that doesn't look likely. Have a good week, and Lovely Complex is the best romance anime ever and has the best anime girlfriend of all time. Ciao!
Like nigga, move out the way, please don't be